prepared at all. Nick, ready?
Yeah.
Jeff, ready?
I guess so.
Let's do it.
I'm not prepared at all.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and point monster, Mike Fisher. Along with me, just like every time, my co-host Nick Stoll, and back-to-back incoming Jeff Gregory. Let's turn some rumors into facts.
Back to back,
like-
baby.
That's like 4 weeks talking about you being shitty.
I know.
It's going to be like 3 more.
Oh my
Hopefully
God.
just one more.
At least one more, because
Yeah.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And then we
boys
come in the
on
week
by.
after and it's all positive.
that's true. Once you
Yeah,
get out,
he's back,
once you
he's
get out, then I'm going to praise you like crazy for
I know.
passing the torch.
I'm back.
I'm back.
Wait, no, you don't want to be back. You don't want to be back.
I'm not back. Anyway, great start.
Right.
The regular season is wrapped up. Playoffs are here. Toilet bowl's here. I talked to John. John offered to take over the award show for us, make it maybe a little more unbiased. Instead of just us voting on the awards, now it's going to be everybody voting on them. I'll have John give them to me in like a maybe like an Oscar style like envelope that I can like open live on the show. We can all be surprised.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what John
Showmanship.
comes up with. But that is a Radish sanctioned event. I want everybody to know John's not just going out on a limb. This is he's on the payroll temporarily.
Right. Thanks.
The intern.
John's interning.
It doesn't look promising.
John's our postseason intern. But award show coming up. So make sure I saw Jeff threw out his case for why he's not that bad. I threw out a brief case as to my coach of the year. Nick, I'm assuming I'm going to see something coming up from you at some point.
Oh yeah, soon here. The unlucky ducky.
Unlucky duck, worst coach
Worst
of the
coach.
year.
Yeah.
I think that those will tie into each other, to be honest with you. Can you really win unlucky and be the worst coach? I mean, I said year of the taint and I didn't make the playoffs. I guess that's where it's coming from.
You did trade away 2 years worth of first round picks and then finished third to last. So
That is true.
It's
pretty unlucky.
yeah, there's some. I mean, we'll save it for the voters. But
Save it
Coach
for
of the year.
voters in my own.
coach of the year, we got Tony, myself, and Ben. Worst coach, Nick, Jeff, Cooley, and Troy. Cooley was doing some bitching, but I actually kind of side with him. I'm not sure how he shows up as worst coach, but maybe there's a case. Lucky Duck, John, Troy, Cooley, and Joe, and the unlucky duck between Nick and Jordan. I don't know. You guys got anything of note there? Any of those you think are a lock?
I want to say worst coach might be a lot, but we'll see. We'll let the voters decide there.
With
No, I agree with Jeff's case that he's bad. He's just not the worst.
I
don't know.
man.
There's the coach of the year. I mean, between Tony, Mike, and Ben, there's an argument right there for all three of you guys. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting, as I think the most debated one. Lucky duck, unlucky duck. You could see both ways on all of these.
Lucky.
Yeah.
John's pretty lucky. That might be a lock, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to look at luck, but I agree, especially as far as games won versus, I think the graphic I posted of the number of games you have above, median score. So when you're a top 6 scoring team versus how many wins you have, and he's like, way above as far as wins he probably shouldn't have. So, yeah, for sure. But here nor there, he got the wins. He got into the playoffs. So I'm going to throw on the screen right now a quick look at the brackets. So toilet bowl on bottom and then the playoffs up on top. So can see some of the buys, can see how this is going to play out. I'm curious. I'm excited for it to get started, but we'll maybe talk a little bit more of that when we get into the matchups here. I'll continue to throw up updated graphics each week with this, but I know I put some links in the Slack channel as well, so people can just jump right to the brackets if you want to see them for yourself. But let's take a look at how we got here.
This here's the Radish Recap.
Radish Recap. So we got Lick, McCaff, and Medak at 5-8, taking on the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 3-10. Dak was a 12-point favorite in this one, took the win 104-82. All of us pegged this as covering, so what that means is Troy and Joe are on the hook for home opener tickets to Leonard Fournette. Ended up being the highest scoring non-QB, so it looks like they're going to we'll have to hear from Jordan whether it's Tampa or whether it's wherever Leonard Fournette ends up. But Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you first. What you seen in this one?
Yeah, looking at Jordan's side of the ball, another suspect performance by Dak. But he had enough to overcome it with those running back play. It's strong running back play even without CMC. We've talked about how Fournette has come on. Aaron Jones getting a little more healthy. Still got an injury designation, but put up 20 points last week. Cooks with a decent performance. I didn't see the target share on that, or playing from behind a lot of the game, if I remember correctly.
Cooks
had 11 targets.
He led the team in targets. I know Nico Collins was a few behind him in second.
That's got to make you feel good. 101 on 8 receptions. Yeah, good week. Good week for Jordan out of those stud running backs, really.
Yeah, they those two carried him. Some okay performances from the receivers, Claypool, Gronk. It's nice when Gronk kind of had an off week and it's 62 yards, 5 catches from the tight end position, right? You'll take that any week. Jeff, throwing it over to the Mud Dog side of the ball. What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, he had a nice play in Palmer there with the 15.1 points. That Chargers wide receiver, even Kirk, getting double digits. That's nothing you can really bank on. So nice to see that from Troy's side. Mahomes, 20 plus, probably pretty average outing for him. Big thing is, Mixon just didn't really have a big game for him. He only had 7.8 points, and like we talk about week in and week out with Troy's team, he goes when Patty goes and he goes when Mixon goes, and he's got to have both of those guys kind of hit on the same week, and didn't get that from Mixon. But Freiermuth consistently getting double digits. It's been a pretty positive play down there in his flex spot. So a couple nice plays on here, not enough to really worry or do much damage against Jordan's squad, but not a terrible week by any means.
Yeah, and in that Minnesota-Pittsburgh game, Freiermuth had the game-winning touchdown target, so, they didn't come down with it. It was triple covered, I think. But, they're looking for him in the red zone. They're looking for him in high-value situations. So, Troy's got to be pretty excited about him. Probably my biggest, thing that blows my mind is I'm looking at Chris Boswell as the Mud Dog kicker here, and Justin Tucker buried on the bench. What's going on there?
Yeah, what?
Can't bench Tuck Dog like that.
13-point difference too.
That's pretty substantial.
Nothing.
So
Huge.
I can't imagine that's going to happen very often, right? Justin Tucker is going to be in the lineup more often than not. But I don't know. Curious, not sure what the thought process was there. But moving on to our next matchup, we got Grizzly Adams and Coach Alex Cooley taking on Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher. Grizz was a 6-point favorite in this one. Didn't work out for him. 156-77. The Dukes took the win. All of us. It was tight. Barely doubled them up, but no. We all had faith in the Dukes. So what this means is Cooley gets to pay for me to hire a graphic designer to make an official team logo. I'm not going to spoil anything on the air here. I know I floated some ideas to you guys out in group chat, but I want it to be a surprise to everybody because I've already been in contacts with a gentleman. So, Cooley, your bill will be in the mail at some point. But anyway,
so awesome.
In that
I'm
matchup,
excited
bud,
to see what that is.
Jeff, I'm going to toss it over to you first. What you got, Jeff?
Well, Mike, on your side, I mean, there's really nothing that went wrong. I mean, Marquise Brown at 6 points and Ertz at 6 points if you want to be picky. But other than that, just a monster performance from Brady, from Gordon. You got to like what you saw out of Barkley there, getting that receiving touchdown. And then George Kittle, just these last 2 weeks, has just been the man. I mean, that was a pretty impressive showing out there, that when they needed a play, they went to him and he consistently came through. So you gotta like what you see rolling into the playoffs here this week, even not getting that first round bye. I mean, your team putting up 156 points, got to feel pretty confident.
Yeah, closing the year on an 8-game winning streak is nice, especially, like you said, George Kittle coming on these last couple weeks. I've felt good about my team most of the year, but if George Kittle's playing like this, I feel great about my team, right? He's, looking at Kelsey on the other side of the ball, right? If that's usually he's the go-to, he's the the gold standard. So to see Kittle putting up these huge games, and another one is T. Higgins has been just unbelievable for this is 3 weeks in a row of where he's been a monster. I think he's a top 6 wide receiver right now, over that span, over that last 3-4 weeks, something like that. So he's been real nice. I've kind of stuck with him all year, been playing him all year, and he's kind of been ho hum. So he's really exploding now, and so that's really nice. Melvin Gordon was a shocker for me, just coming out and getting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not expecting that in a timeshare, but he looked good. I think they're going to keep going to him. Nick, Cooley side of the ball, what you got over there?
You can talk about that Lamar Jackson injury, only getting 1.18 points. That's brutal. He needs a big game out of him and Kelsey. He didn't get either of them, like he talked about earlier, only having 4.2. I mean, Kansas City didn't have to do anything in that game. They were up so big. Their defense was taking care of it. It's got to feel nice, Renfro. I mean, you talked about top 6 performers. He's probably top 10 the last 3 weeks. I think it's like 14, 17, and 22, all over 100 yards and touchdown in 2 of those games. He's been a stud. Yeah. So that's got to feel good for Cooley, rounding out that decent receiving group right there. Deebo Samuel. With Mitchell hurt, he's taken a lot of the running duties, right? So it seems, I think he only had 1 target last game. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's been almost a consistency. Even the games Mitchell's played, his target volume has been really low the last 5 or so weeks.
1, 4, 2, 5, yeah.
Yeah, compared to earlier in the year, right? 8, 10, 13, 9, right? His low game was 8 up until these last 4 weeks, and now he's, hasn't broken 4 or 5 targets. And, with a rematch coming up against Cooley, I think that's going to be a really huge thing. If they keep using him like that, right, you see 12.5 points here, but he got a touchdown there. If he doesn't get that touchdown, if a game comes where he doesn't get a touchdown, it's a 5-point game that you never thought you were going to see out of Deebo when the start of the year was around. And all that receiving work has transitioned directly to George Kittle. Ayuk's out there. Ayuk's doing a little bit more, but George Kittle is the guy right now. So I hope that keeps happening. I hope that trend stays that way. They use him more as a running back, as a utility player. And Kittle gets to keep eating through the air.
Yeah, that definitely limits his ceiling value. Like we were talking about at the beginning of the year, had such a high ceiling. So sucks for Cooley going to the playoffs, but what can you do? Yeah, that's all I got on Cool's side of the ball, though.
Probably nice for Cooley to see the ghost of Mike Davis do something.
I was about to bring that up too.
But
finally,
he performed. He did something. Another kicker decision. Younghoe Koo buried on the bench with another 3 points would have got him. But
surprising.
No love. Maybe he'll bust him back out for playoffs. That's his secret weapon. But
just giving him the week off.
Moving on to our next matchup, we got Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas taking on Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. Old Man was a 21-point favorite in this one, took the 103-72 victory. Nick was the only one that had faith there. 2 years in a row, Joe's getting a jersey from you, Jeff. Curious to hear which jersey it is, what he decides to go with this year. I feel like, he mentioned Javonte on the podcast the other week. I'm pretty confident that's probably what he'll do. DJ Moore might be a cool one as well, but looking at this game, Javonte had a monster day. I talked about Melvin. Javonte did pretty much the same thing, right? Came out and both of them went off in that game. Ayuk, we talked about a little bit, getting a lot more receiving work. He had 6 catches. Curious, I'll pop up what his
11.
targets were right here. 11 targets. So,
Yeah,
that all just coincides with Debo getting used more out of the backfield and not getting the targets quite as much. So that's been another big benefit for him. Montgomery, 10 points. Kirk Cousins had a fine day, 15 or 14's, good enough to get you by. And that's really what Joe needed here was just good enough to outlast you, Jeff. Jeff, throw it to you for your side of the ball. What you seeing there?
Yeah, a couple disappointing performances. McLaurin getting 0, Mooney getting, less than 3. Austin Walter looked like a decent play, and then all of a sudden that first quarter get a notification that he's sick and out. So it's like nothing game time, nothing before. But, the unfortunate thing is I would have played probably Curtis Samuel in a spot, and he also got a 0. So there's not much, not much there. So started off strong. I mean, Cooper had a touchdown early. Rashad Penny had a touchdown and then had another one late. So really the only bright spot in this whole lineup I have right here is Penny. And, hopefully he can keep that going, string together a couple good weeks here and actually be usable this year. But even if you look down on my bench, there's really not much this week. I had a lot of guys out on bye, Goddard on bye, Stevenson, Harris,
I saw watching Red Zone. I saw Khalif Raymond get that early touchdown. I popped over to your matchup quick. I was like, oh, finally he's going to get some points from him. And I'm like, but gets the 0 from Austin Walter
zeros from him. So
I don't blame you. But Nick, any last words from this game?
No, nothing too much. You guys touched on pretty much everything. Joe did enough to get her done in this one.
I did.
Give me that.
Joe did actually already order or tell me which jersey he wanted. It is a Javonte Williams.
Oh,
the Broncos orange jersey too. So it's pretty sweet. It's already ordered and shipped, and should be getting to his house here soon. So
I gotta get on it. I gotta make Cooley pay me for stuff already. Jeez.
It was basically, I think he texted at Tuesday morning, sent over the link of what he wanted. So by like 10 a.m. bought it, sent it, and got it done with. Enough of that. On to next year.
Solid.
On the next
year. Get it planning for you next year. I got you. That's solid. All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got the Taint Ticklers, Coach Nick Stoll taking on Ball is Life and Coach John Lamers. Ball was a 14-point favorite in this one, took the win 127-87. Big win. All of us knew this. So we got Potato Boy over here. Gets to carry around and eat a potato the whole draft weekend. John was already sending some pictures of license plate holders for you that he was thinking of. Dude. I got some inside knowledge. I think I know what he's going with, but I'm not going to spoil that. That's it's unfortunate. The year of the Taint comes to a not quite a conclusion yet. You still got the toilet bowl, but a disappointing end to the regular season. Nick, I'm gonna throw it over to you and let you talk through this game first.
Yeah, coming in buys and then Keenan Allen being out, I didn't have much faith in my roster. Obviously, I picked Ball's Life to cover that 14-point spread. So you look at it, David Johnson, about a little under an hour before game time, I already checked all my lineups. Of course, I didn't get a notification about that. Why would you? Who gives a shit about David Johnson? No one actually starting him in a legitimate lineup, except for your boy. So he gets me 0. I mean, I would have probably pivoted to Deshaun Jackson, and I think he had 0 as well. So.
James.
Who would have thought? Yeah. Who would have thought at the start of the year that we'd be cringing at you playing Allen Robinson and Kenny Golladay? Like that.
Golladay I could see, but Allen Robinson, no. I thought that was going to be a lock every week in my lineup.
That's just crazy. But Jeff, toss it over to you. What do you got on John's side of the ball here?
Yeah, good performances from his two rookies. Najee in that Thursday night game getting sub just under 24 points, and then Chase, what did he have? He had 2 touchdowns, and I think if they were
Both of
both
them
pretty late. Yeah,
Yep.
so it was kind of one of those where he was down, and then all of a sudden got that first one. Nick wasn't buried at that point, then got another one, and it was pretty much over from there. So solid performance from Clyde, solid performance from Stafford, and those are kind of the 4 guys that really propelled John's squad to beat you there this week, Nick.
Yeah, DK Metcalf continuing to be down will be something to watch for. You saw Jamar Chase do the work late. DK and Mike Williams. Mike Williams, okay game, 61 yards, but that's without Keenan. So you expected him to have a good game, so you're almost disappointed with that. That's really right. That's not that great of a game considering you were the de facto number 1 target. So. Interesting. I know this was a solid outing and a 127, but I've lost a little faith in this Ball is Life team, and I'll be really curious to see how he performs coming into the playoffs here. But if he's putting up 127, he's going to get it done any day. But I'm just not sure that that's going to be a consistent thing.
He's living in a boomer bust kind of factor right now. We talked about it, him being lucky the last 4 weeks. Prior to this one, he didn't have really any booms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. Oh, I do have one thing to highlight too, as well, Mike. If you want to,
I know you do.
Nick's garbage time all-star.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
So my garbage time all-star is Taysom Hill. He didn't crack the starting lineup. I was going back and forth what I wanted to do there. But it was just too much of a garbage time touchdown. The game was over. It was a 44-yard rushing touchdown in the closing seconds. So it's just too perfect of a garbage time touchdown not to mention.
Yeah.
You did it for fantasy, man.
On my bench.
On your bench. In a 40
I started in another league.
Yep.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter either way.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to our next matchup. We got I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on Aaron Rodgers' football team and Coach Tony Fisher. Lefties came into this one as an 11-point favorite. We all hated Tony's roster and picked against him. We were all wrong. He took the 102-92 victory.
Unbelievable.
I don't think we were wrong in hating his lineup.
Look at it.
He's got 3 zeros, 2.2 from Alex Collins. Like, this is unbelievable that he was able to pull out a win here. Like I mentioned, running back 0, 2 receivers posting zeros, his flex getting 2 points. Survives on a 35-point day from Josh Allen, couple of 15-plus point games from Eckler and Justin Jefferson, and then 23 from Andrews. That's it. And then a 9-point kicker, right? That is it. That is the entire lineup. That's crazy to me. That you look at that lineup, like if I'm supposed to be an engineer, I'm supposed to know how to do math, right? Like if you covered up the totals and I just looked at that lineup, I'd be like, oh, he lost, right? Like, there's no way you put up that many points. So this is just crazy to me. But did enough, got the win. I wouldn't be thrilled about that. Hopefully he's got the bye week that some of his guys can get healthy and he can, actually fill a lineup come playoff time. But Nick, I'm gonna toss it to you for the other side of the ball. What you got with the lefties?
Yeah, well, it's coming down. How much did Kyle need going into that last game?
I need I think it was 25 from Hopkins and Murray or something like that, or maybe more.
I thought it was 30.
It must have been more. It must have been 35. 35,
yeah.
Yep.
Which is pretty.
I thought that was.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have got that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. I mean, Tony was kind of shaking in his boots a little bit going through the text messages. So, looking at a bunch of underperformers. I mean, Hopkins being hurt, he just had that. I think he's going to be out the rest of the season. We got that
rest of the regular season at least.
Yeah. All we care about. So, that might be nice. Now he doesn't have to feel like he needs to start him every week. Elliott just keeps underperforming. It's a big name. He traded a lot for him, but I feel like the entire season has been underwhelming.
And in a game without no Tony Pollard there to take anything away.
what's his name? Corey
Corey
Clement. Is
Clement.
that what his name?
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Badger, go off, man.
And then you got Tyreek Hill, 9.6. Once again, they didn't need to do anything. We talked about that earlier. Chubb only having 8 points. I don't think that's going to continue. So I think you'll be all right, Kyle. And you got some depth on your bench to slide in there for Hopkins, Van Jefferson. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Do well coming
Jeff,
forward.
what else you got in this one?
I got something in here, Mike, if you want to throw it over here.
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
Yeah, even though Kyle put up almost 93 points, he still lost to a guy that really only played 5 people, like we mentioned. So for that, Monroe's the worst coach of the week. Had some actual decisions he had to make. I don't think any of us would have really probably sat Hopkins, but the way Van Jefferson and even OBJ for that matter have been playing here, kind of surprising they're sitting on his bench, but you can see why. But there's a couple things in here that contributed to that loss, and yeah, it's Monroe's the worst coach of the week. I don't know if that's his first time or not, but definitely is this week. I would think so.
The embarrassment of riches coming back to bite him. Yeah, okay. No room to find a spot to slide Van Jefferson or OBJ in there. You're not going to sit Nick Chubb,
Sure.
right?
No.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But
That's just a tough performance.
This one's a tough one too. I mean,
maybe-
the loser has to wear a Speedo for the entire draft, and the winner gets to write on them.
Right.
yeah,
I'm-
I didn't even
I'm
bring that up.
curious
You're
what-
right. That's
I'm
a
curious what Tony's gonna cook up and come up with for that.
A lot of dicks.
Oh yeah,
I get the over under slowing.
I wonder if going forward, if Kyle might sit Elliott. I mean, now that Hopkins is out and then OBJ is also, can you really start 2 Rams receivers? Maybe, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
He's
tough.
got some decisions. I mean, it's not
You
a
also-
bad spot to be in where you got stars that you got to pick and choose from. But
yeah.
You also look at that Cleveland team right now. I mean, they got 3 offensive linemen on the COVID list. Baker's on the COVID list. I mean, I don't know how well
I
that
didn't know
offense is going to be
that.
able to move with Nick Chubb this week, right? Like that, they're missing probably 7 starters on offense. Kareem Hunt is one of them. That's the one benefit. He's, I mean, not COVID,
Yeah.
but he's out with an injury. So, it should be all Chubb or at least more Chubb. But yeah, there's
Baker's out too, unfortunately.
yeah, that's
so they might-
there's questions there too. So it's
yeah.
he's not really a slam dunk to me either.
They are playing Vegas though.
That does help.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got Benny and the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer taking on Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski. Jets came into this one as a 12-point favorite, took the 149-112 victory. What that means is Benny gets to choose the destination of the Stankowski-Stelzer couples vacation. So, I don't know. I'll have to talk to Benny at some point and figure out where he's leaning on this one. Be curious how exotic he wants to
Wisconsin.
get with it, or maybe they go to Wausau, Wisconsin, or something. Who knows?
Ooh, fun, glamorous.
Jeff, I'm gonna toss it to you first. What you got in this one?
Yeah, Ben's side over here putting up 150 points. I mean, this team just continues to roll and put up monster numbers week in and week out. Cooper Kupp with another good game. Delvin Cook on that Thursday night just looked like an animal. Aaron Rodgers just shy of 30 points. Even Tyler Lockett, just shy of 25 points. There's some pretty high scoring outings from Ben's guys this week, and gotta like getting that win to get that first round bye, get the monkey off your back a little bit, take a deep breath going into this week, and get a nice win against Cobra Kai. So a lot of good positive things coming from Ben's squad here.
Yeah, and jumping over to Kyle's side of the ball, right? Rough week to start. James Robinson getting 4 yards in the whole week. Tennessee's had a pretty stout run defense lately, but still 4 yards. That's just seems ridiculous. Dontrell Hilliard, I never thought was a great start. I don't know that he had many options with several running back injuries before leading up to that, but you could kind of see the writing on the wall that with McNichols back, Hilliard wasn't going to be the big, big part of the offense. So, the Cam Newton start was a moonshot. I don't judge anyone for that. You hope he gets 3 rushing touchdowns. He got one right away, and it was like, maybe he rolls. But Devontae, Landry, solid games. Guyton got that one bomb that made his day pretty solid.
That was a good play.
It was a good play once you had the Eckler, or not Eckler, but Keenan being out. You got to hope for a couple extra targets. Pretty much everybody you could have slid in there paid off. I think Jared Cook had a touchdown. Guyton, Palmer, all of them scored. So really could have started anybody, but all of them did better than Mike Williams, oddly.
Yeah, which is very weird.
Dawson Knox is pretty solidified to me as an upper echelon tight end right now, at least for this season. I really don't know what they'll do going forward, but he's getting pretty consistent high value look. So I'd be excited with him. 112 points, he'll get it done a lot of weeks, but just not against the Jets. So no luck for you there, Stank. Nick, what else you got in this?
Nothing too much. A little down performance from Sony based on the previous week 20 versus 7.9. You talked about Cam Newton. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever start him again. I know he only could have started Tannehill, his only other one, but Cam Newton will not be in my starting lineup if I was Stank. Nice game out of the boy, Prater. Smoking cigarettes, drinking beers on the sideline, putting up 16 points. There you go. I miss him.
Another day on the job.
I miss him.
Yeah. Come back.
You look at Ben's side, though, too, Mike, and Nick on his bench. He's got James Conner, 29 points. And with Hunt kind of banged up and out probably a week or two, Ben's lineup's looking – he's got some pretty solid guys that he can slide up in there. I don't know.
The interesting part with Connor is, you saw him get banged up at the end of their game, and Chase Edmonds should be back this upcoming week. Yep. So, right, James Conner's been getting crazy run lately, but assuming with Chase Edmonds back, it'll be back to a little bit more of a split. So that'll be maybe a little bit less extreme for him, but still, I'm sure gonna get launched into that starting lineup. Nick didn't like us anymore, so he's gone. But that's all right. That's normal at this point. So while he works to get back in, I'm gonna go through these standings real quick. So Nick had a solid week, 5-1. Jeff and I both 4-2. Good weeks all around for the host picks. We were pretty aligned on most of our selections, but what that means is Jeff remains a game and a half up over both me and Nick, who are tied right behind you. So tight race coming into playoffs here. These next weeks are going to be important. It's going to be big, make or break season. But
Jeff, don't choke it away.
Come on. I locked it. Absolutely.
Trying to give him one of these. All right. Well, before we jump into some of our looking forward, got a chance to sit down with Jordan and talk a little bit, talk Pro Bowl, talk a little bit about his matchups, his season. So I'm gonna jump over to that interview right now. All right, welcome into Coach Jordan Chartier of Lick McCaff and Medak. Although that name may change as he gets mad and tries to trade away both of those players. But Jordan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's funny you said that, Fish, because I was going to mention it on the show today that there's probably going to be a name change in the near future. But
is it a player on your roster that you're going to base it off of again,
or going away from player names because of how it's worked out so far?
Yeah, that's not worked well so far.
What do I got to lose with little Jordan out there? I mean, I think I can base something around that. I mean, he's coming on strong here awesome. On the back end, 6.6 points and then 11.9. He didn't play last game, but hell, he's almost my highest average in receiver per game right now.
It's actually funny. We were out having a couple of drinks at one of our work outings and stuff, and we were talking about little Jordan Humphrey and Jordan's team in the MJ League that we have, and someone was just ripping into him, and he's like, "Why do you even have this guy in your roster the whole time?" And Jordan just started dying. He's like, "Why not? Why can't I have him?" It was good.
That's
awesome.
I kind of love the idea of like him being like out of the league or something, and you just still having him on your roster. Just
I think I mentioned that night that he's probably gonna probably stick to the roster for a few.
He's a lifer.
20 years or so,
Yeah.
you know.
A few 20 years.
until the platform takes him away and you can't pick him anymore.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna write a letter to CBS, ask them what the hell, but we'll approach that bridge when it comes.
My favorite
Hopefully
player.
there's a big Jordan that comes along.
big Jordan.
I'll trade my whole team for him.
First pick of whatever draft that or rookie draft that is, just because someone knows they can trade him to Jordan for anything.
Yeah.
Big Jordan. All right, Jordan. Rivalry week this last week. You playing against the Mud Dogs, so you took the win. Leonard Fournette, highest scoring player. So I got a question with that because Leonard Fournette's going to be a free agent. So are you guys going to Tampa or are you going to wherever he ends up?
I was thinking about that today at work. I did nothing today at work, and
What's different?
Well, but I was looking at that and I didn't even know, Mike, if he was a free agent or not. But I'm just like, what if he got traded or something? And I just playing scenarios in my head. I'm like, what are we doing? Are we going to Tampa? Are we going to wherever he goes? And that's something that Troy and I will have to work through once we get this draft started. Hopefully we can turbo through it and whatnot. But we'll have to talk through that and figure that out because I really don't know. I assume go to Tampa. I know you guys mentioned on last week's show, Aaron Jones was close to being the highest scorer, and I was like, it'd been cool to go another Packer game. I wouldn't have cared, but I kind of would have felt, I think it kind of would have defeated the purpose. But no, it'll be cool, and Troy and I will have to figure that out, and hopefully we can, if it doesn't happen prior to that, we'll have to double down and take care of last year's bet too. So.
You can wait to
see where it hasn't happened yet.
See where Lenny ends up, and then decide if you rather Tampa or there. Maybe if he goes to Vegas, you go to Vegas. Maybe if he goes to
New York
I think that's what we'll have to do.
Goes to the Lions. We don't want to go there.
He goes to Detroit. Well, I think we're going to Tampa.
Yeah.
That sounds a little better. All right, I got the next question for you, George. So you're one of the captains for the Pro Bowl we were talking about before we started recording. What's the thought process going into it? Are you going to take the best team available? Are you going to try and pick a team and get someone else stuck with it, like get me stuck on Troy's team? That might be something you want to do strategy-wise.
Well, Troy came guns a-blazing, and I barely had any time to think about this, so I truthfully don't really know. I thought about both, with him being first pick, I guess I got to see where he goes with it. But I are there any two rivals besides Tony and Kyle Monroe that are really, I'm just looking back at last week's scores here that are if you pick the better, if I pick Joe, it's just naturally going to work out that way where, obviously Jeff's going to get a back. I think that's how it's going to play out, is probably just picking the number one guy for each of us. We'll see if Troy thinks about it anymore. But, for me, I think it's just, looking at those top 3-4 guys or teams and going that route, what's best available, who's the hottest, who, coming down the stretch too, especially.
Well, yeah, and one of it you got to probably think about is, the positions. If you got to fill, a tight end spot and there's only so many good tight ends and somebody's already got one or two of them, where do you go there? Or if you got to fill, a quarterback and you want one of those top guys. And so I'm sure that'll start to come in, especially later in the draft when you're saying, okay, maybe this team doesn't have the depth, but they got the one guy that I need. So that'll be interesting too.
Yeah, I feel like running back and QB will be, running back, QB, and wide receiver will be fairly, truthfully, they're going to be pretty easy to fill it seems like, but the tight end, it would definitely be the interesting position there.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple top tier, probably 3 of them.
And I have a feeling I have a feeling as we continue to go, and I thought about doing it this year, but we'll expand the rosters a little bit to be a 2 quarterback, 2 tight end, 5 receiver, a couple extra flexes. I thought about doing that this year. I didn't want to make it where, if someone ended up with both of those 2 ineligible championship teams, you ended up trying to scrounge for a roster with only 4 teams to pull from. That was the one thing. So I just kind of want to see how this plays out, and then maybe we'll look to expand in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, Jordan, last year you had the first round bye. I'm a little disappointed you're not down there with me again, but, good for you. Good turnaround. You're facing Joe. You're facing Joe this week. Anything in your matchup that, on your side of the ball that you're liking out of Joe's roster, you're a little worried about, just kind of talk us through your thoughts for that.
Yeah, just Dak Prescott, I have no idea what I'm going to get from him. I don't know if he's going to give me 2 points or if he's going to give me 32 points. So, the QB position is just kind of a whatever. I think he's in the same boat with Kirk Cousins has been pretty solid or consistent, but so right there I would say it's a wash. I do like my running backs. I mean, Leonard Fournette's been he's been having a really good year as you guys have all seen. Aaron Jones, I obviously went out with that injury for a little bit. AJ Dillon stepped up really big for the Packers, so I think they're going to continue to split 50-50, and it's just a matter if I don't even think Aaron Jones was in there 50% of the time in the last few games, but it's just a matter if he can get those touchdowns. But I still like my running backs. And then looking at these wide receivers, mine are, geez, Pete, same as Dak. I don't know if they're going to go for less than 5 or if they're going to go have a breakout game for them is 10. So
I hope all of them get more than 10.
If they all get 10 or more, I'm sitting pretty. Hell, if one gets 10 or more, I'm usually sitting all right. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not too concerned looking at his lineup. I feel like I'm, his players are just as shitty. There's a reason we're playing for the toilet bowl. It's going to be close, but we're all right there, bottom tier. So
yeah.
All right, I'll go to the next one. So 2 years in a row being in the toilet bowl. What biggest hole in your lineup are you looking to fill to avoid making it 3?
Kicker, Nick, the kicker. No, I'm kidding.
Draft another one.
Game changer. Look at
first round
Draft hard.
Yeah, no, it's the wide receiver position. Claypool didn't pan out how I wanted. Brandon Cooks has been a splendid surprise this year, in all honesty. But then, I barely can fill the wide receiver positions every week is what it feels like. There's 5 out there that are always projected 8, 9, sometimes maybe 10 points, but they're more often than not, they're underperforming. And so it's definitely trying to fill a wide receiver position or 2. And, probably going to have to get looking into trades a little bit more potentially if I want to turn this around, or I can play the long ball. And, Leonard Fournette's getting up there in age too. But, I'm just hoping for one healthy year out of McCaffrey. Unless I get rid of him, then he can stay injured the rest of his career. But
oh my God,
that might be a little harsh. I don't like that, but definitely wide receivers.
Yeah.
Oh. Been a long day, Nick.
Could you imagine, Jordan, what your wide receiver room would have looked like if you would have been able to draft one in round 2?
Don't even start. I the few days that I have like today, and I'm like looking at stuff, and like I'll start diving real deep, looking at that draft from the first year, like, oh, I could have this guy, and it's just like, I could have probably got Dak in the 6th round. He might have went a little higher, but I still could have a very functioning quarterback late and set myself a hell of a lot better with wide receivers. But I'll never get over it.
I'll never get over it.
It is what it is.
You kind of talked about trades a little bit there. CMC hasn't been healthy, has been hurt. He's his first overall pick 2 years in a row. is it time to move on from him? You got another year out of him? Is it just, are you over it? What's your thought process going into the offseason with him?
Fear is my thought process. My fear is I'm going to trade him away. He'll be healthy all year, averages 20 points a game, basically another quarterback out there, and I'm not going to get enough for him, if he performs that well. No, they can flip though too, where I trade him away, he gets injured, or he's a middle of the line running back, and I get more than enough for him. So he's always weighing in, in the back of my mind. I mean, like Aaron Jones, just being a Packer fan, I'm even for some reason tied to him a little bit more, which I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe I need to get out of that little bubble, but no, with Christian McCaffrey, I'm just if I trade him to the wrong team, Monroe made lots of offers trying to get him, and I think there would have been a lot of cloners coming, because I don't think the rest of the league would have wanted to see Christian McCaffrey on Kyle's team.
No.
But we'll see. Ben threw out a pretty unreal offer at one point that he had to back out of because he was giving up a little bit too much. I mean, I wish I'd have jumped on it. I sat on it for a day, and I regret that big time. But I don't know if he would have went through with it or not.
Yeah, and it's the emotional scars too, right? Look at Joe Mixon managers before this year. It's the getting burned 2-3 times in a row, and you're seeing a pretty healthy year from Mixon, and he's solid, and so but at the same time, there's other guys where you maybe get burned, and if you do get out, at the right time, look at if you got out when Lev Bell was on top of the world and you got burned by his holdout season, if you were like, what, I'm just going to cut ties here, you'd be pretty happy with, I'm sure you'd have got a haul when he signed with the Jets, and he didn't really do anything. So it can go either way.
Or Allen Robinson this year.
You just want to take shots at Nick.
I don't want to. Come on. I don't want to talk about that.
All right, Jord. Well, can't let you out of here without hearing about your guy.
Short-ear slap neck stinker.
I am the smartest hillbilly in hillbilly town.
Oh, can't wait to hear about Short-ear slap neck stinker.
I could not remember what the hell I was gonna have to come up with, and I don't know how I tracked it down, but I figured it out today during work, and so I was sitting there and I had to do a little bit of research on this and taking a look at some things. And it would be easy, you think about a stinker, it's like, just something happened or someone that's underperforming, and like, this just sucks. And like, I could always, you already took the jab at the second round pick with Dak. I mean, that just sucks. It stinks. I didn't want it. I always could go Christian McCaffrey too. I mean, 2 for 2 years. I mean, maybe I'll run with third year and I'll be saying the same thing next year. But, where I started to look at was, truthfully, I kind of got teammates here, Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. And, it's kind of obvious because they go hand in hand. I'm sure if one was doing really well, the other one would be, doing well as well. And I know they both missed some games with injuries and whatnot, but last year, Russell was the 6th. I wrote these notes down, but Russell was the 6th overall scoring QB. And again, he missed some games, but this year he's 22nd.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf, same thing, 7th overall. He's down at 22. And, it's those two are definitely there racing. And I just want to circle back to Dak for one reason. His 2.64 a week, when he got me 2.64, he needed to get me 8.79, and I would have won. And I would have knocked it. And if everything fell out the rest of the year, that was week 11 that happened, I would have ended the season 7-7. I would have had the tiebreaker on Cooley because I kicked his ass twice this year, and he'd have been out in the playoffs, and I'd have been in the playoffs.
Fuck you, Dak.
Exactly.
What a stinker.
So, it's really frustrating, but I said I can't take the easy out and go with Dak. So ultimately, truthfully, the biggest stinker, one of the biggest stinkers this year is DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion. Last year, 5th overall scoring. Again, I think he missed a few games this year, but he's dropped all the way down to 28th overall on scoring. on total points on the year. So I think I was looking at all these stats right. I barely can use this app still. I might have to get some off-season lessons, but I think I was looking at everything right, and I was like, that's what I came up with. So overall, it's DeAndre Hopkins, and it really stinks because he's on a playoff team, and that playoff team has been. We all know Kyle's team and the potential, but when Kyler and DeAndre are playing down, his team looks like shit. He just got beat. He got beat by a team that three players put up 0 points. That's just that's brutal. I haven't even had a loss. At least the team I play against, they score. Their players do.
It's not 5-on-9.
Yeah. If I played 5-on-9, I'd probably have a lot better record. Geez. So sorry I got a little long-winded there, but yeah, it goes to Hopkins when it's all said and done. So
all good. Yeah, and even the games Hopkins has played, he's been, you feel like you got to play him because he is who he is, and if he's playing through some injuries or whatever it is, he's been, he hasn't been what you signed up for.
So that's part of being a stinker though too, is injuries. Injuries stink, and yep. You speak of Hopkins, like he hasn't had a game over 100 yards. I bet you none of us would have made that bet at the beginning of the year. No. We all would have said he would have at least one game with it. And then I think he's out the rest of the season. Did I see that today?
Mm-hmm. Yep, at least the regular season. He might come off in the playoffs, but
right. So yeah.
But, yeah. No, I got no quarrel with that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and especially because, like you said, you look at a guy like Allen Robinson who maybe stunk, but you gave up on him pretty quick, and he never tempted you to play him or anything.
Yeah.
But DeAndre has been right there, and you want to play him, and he gets you 7 points, and you want to play him. Oh, but he's hurt, and so I'm all on board with that. But well, unless my co-hosts have something else, Jordan, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. It was a good time.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. A lot of good stuff.
Talk to you later.
Yep, see you guys.
Jordan.
Bye. All right. Well, nice to sit down with Jordo there. I'm really curious where he's going to go in this Pro Bowl. I don't know who he's going to end up with. The draft hasn't started as of right now. It might be done by the time we post this. Who knows? But curious how that's going to go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's such a sweet idea. We talked about it earlier, but it's awesome.
True, I'm excited. I hope it goes well this year. Hope we can build on it a little bit. But all right, with that out of the way, let's jump into an abbreviated matchup segment.
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
Husky League matchups, only 4 this week. We got a couple teams on bye. Included in that is the Aaron Rodgers football team as the number 1 seed, sitting at 12-2. Benny and the Jets is the number 2 seed, sitting at 11-3. And then we got the 11 seed in the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 3-11, and the 12 seed at Jay's Juggernauts at 1-13. All of them on bye for this week. Automatically moving on to next week. You live to fight another day, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
At least half of us want to.
Mm-hmm.
So jump into our first matchup. We got Grizzly Adams, the number 6 seed at 7-7, taking on Archduke Fish, the number 3 seed at 10-4. Dukes are a 13-point favorite in this one. The winner gets to move on and play Benny and the Jets in the next round. I'll talk to this a little bit first. One thing that's going to stick out as the week goes on is what's going on with Lamar. Does he play? If he does play, I don't know that that's necessarily good for Cooley, right? Coming with a bum ankle, playing a really good Green Bay defense. I'll be curious to see how well he's able to play. He's been beaten up bad by blitzes and by pressure this year. I think Green Bay could do that to him, so it'll be interesting. He might almost be better off if he doesn't go and he rolls with a Taylor Heineke against Philly or something like that. But there's that. Myles Gaskin, is he back off the COVID list? That's going to be huge in this one. because they're playing the Jets. He's got Malcolm Brown that'll probably slide in if he doesn't go and if Malcolm does. But overall, the rest of the guys are guys, Deontay, Debo, Hunter Renfrow. They're all going to have solid games. Kelsey hasn't lately, but you got to assume he's going to, put up 12, 15 points, right? That's what I expect out of him. Mike Davis at running back, I wouldn't be happy about if I was Cooley, but I don't know that he has much for better options other than maybe a Chase Edmonds or something if he does get activated.
Is Pollard out? Do we know that?
I didn't practice again today, so he might go yet.
Yeah.
With all of that, all that said, I look at my side of the ball, and I got JT going against New England. Not a great matchup, but I really don't care what his matchups are anymore.
It doesn't matter.
Saquon going against Dallas, he probably is better in game scripts where they're playing from behind. He's, getting 6-7 catches. The rest of my guys, Evans, Higgins, I'm loving. Kittle, I'm hoping he's going to keep rolling with it. I like my guys this week. I got confidence in myself. I'm gonna take myself going back to back against Grizzly. Jeff, toss it over to you next. What do you got?
I'm also gonna take you, Mike. You hit on it. The uncertainty of Cooley's running back room is enough, and even Lamar, his health, are really the two big things for me to slide over to you. I think your guys are bigger names, better players at those positions with Tom Brady just on an absolute tear. He's got a tough matchup against the Saints, but just like Taylor, he's kind of matchup proof. It really doesn't matter. He's going to get you those points. So big thing is, your flex spot down here, if you're going to roll with Gordon, if you're going to roll with Ertz, someone else, that's kind of one thing I'll be tuning into. But your wide receivers are pretty solid and have been in that starting lineup all year. And I think they'll do as good, if not probably better than Cooley. So there's a lot of positives that I'm liking on your side. So I'm rolling with the Archduke.
Nick, with the crowd or going against the grain?
I am with the crowd just because we talked about that Debo lower ceiling. Maybe he's going to get a little more rush work. I think that San Francisco-Atlanta game is not going to be close at all. That also means Mike Davis will not see anything. He's back to the beginning of the year, Mike Davis. So forget about him. That's damn near a goose egg, I think. Lamar Jackson, again, if he can't run the ball with that hurt ankle, that also limits his top side. So I think Kittle's going to have a great game, but I just don't think there's enough. He's going to have his receivers absolutely go off. I think you just have enough on your receiving core, and then that running back room has continued to be pretty good. Like last week, what'd you score between all three of them? JT was on bye, but Barkley had 17, Gordon had 20-something, so.
Yep. Yeah, it was, and then Deontay Foreman, who I didn't start, had like 17 also.
He had 17 last week? I didn't know that.
He had a pretty good outing.
It was like 13. It was in the teens.
But still double digits.
But I don't know.
So we're all going with the Duke.
I'm going.
Everybody's got the Dukes moving on to play Benny. Gosh, I hope so. I will say it's a totally different matchup than it was last week.
Your lineups are way different.
Lineups are entirely different. For my side, really, it's just JT being thrown in there, but that's a huge change over anybody, right? And then on Cooley's side,
I'd be worried about Smith over on Cooley's side, Devonta
Smith.
Yeah, he's got the potential every week, and it's just a matter of if Hurts is going to get him the ball and can get him the ball, but he could put up quite a few points. Or
and
Minshew,
does Hurts play? Is Hurts? Yeah, I was going to say, is Hurts healthy enough to go, or do they go back to Minshew mania? So,
yeah,
yep.
I love you, Minshew.
between having those Dolphin running backs back in, so it'll be a totally different roster for Cools, but I'm excited for it. Moving on to our next matchup, we got the number 5 seed, and I am left-handed, taking on the number 4 seed, and Ball is Life. A pair of 9-5 teams going at it here. Lefties are a 12-point favorite in this one. Winner gets to go on and play the Aaron Rodgers football team. Nick, tossing this to you first. What you got here?
God, I really wanted someone else to go first. But we talked about it. We talked about it last week, just earlier. Ball is life. He's living and dying off those boomer bust players, and they haven't been booming. And last week they did, but I don't think they're going to this week. Kyle had a tough week last week. We touched on Chubb, all those COVID bull crap. I still think Vegas is just too juicy of a matchup. I think he's still going to have a good game. That Kansas City Chargers game, 52 over under. Hill is, I think, going to go off. I think the Chargers are going to put up points and make Kansas City put some points up. So that's good for Kyle there. Kyler Murray against Detroit. Oh, that's so juicy. So I got Kyle covering that 12-point spread there.
Yeah, I wanted to like John here. I really did. I just don't, the top of his lineup just doesn't give me a ton of confidence. I talked about Mike Williams and DK. I think the running backs will be solid. I think Matt Stafford will be solid, but those wide receivers leave me questions. And then really the area where he could gain some ground here, tight end, it's, there's no Darren Waller on Monroe's side of the ball as of right now. But he's not really picking up any sort of advantage there. The Ricky Seals-Jones play isn't something that I'm, head over heels about. I don't know that he has anybody else. Conklin or Jared Cook aren't going to come in there and really change my opinion there. I think there's too much. I think I got to give the nod to the lefties here and roll with them. Jeff, what you got here?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. You look at John's side, and we could all be looking really stupid come next week when we record because he could put up, 140, 150 and just roll. But I'm going to go with Monroe as well. Mostly, you talked about that Atlanta and the 49ers matchup there, Nick. I think it's going to be a huge Patterson game. They're going to get down early. Matt Ryan's going to have to throw the ball, and without Calvin Ridley there and kind of Pitts getting double teamed, it's been the Patterson show all year. So I don't see that changing. And even losing Hopkins and sliding Van Jefferson into that wide receiver spot for Monroe, that's not a terrible matchup against the Seahawks there. And with OBJ on, I think he tested positive for COVID, so he's out. Van Jefferson could be the wide receiver too in that high scoring offense. So that's just a bump in his favor. And, the big thing, Mike, you kind of alluded to it. Kyle doesn't even have Waller in this lineup. And if Waller's healthy and can go, even if he's on a little snap count or pitch count, I think you got to roll with him over Kmet. So there's room to even improve in Monroe's lineup. So with all that being said, I'm going to go with Kamo in this matchup here.
All right, a lot of alignment going so far. Let's get out of all these good teams and head on down to the toilet bowl. So we got the number 8 seed in Lick McCaffrey taking on the number 9 seed and Old Man Joe. 6-8, 5-9, some okay records. It's interesting. The number 6 seed going into the playoffs is 7-7. So a lot of these teams were not very far off. But Lick McCaffrey a 3-point favorite in this one. The loser gets to move on and play Jay's Juggernauts. This is an important one for you, Jeff. And for that reason, I'm going to toss it over to you first, Jeff. What you got in this one?
Let's see. You said the line's 3 points.
3 points for McCaff. Yep. Yeah. So right now, if you look at it, I know that Rex Burkhead's in there. I, assumed Michael Carter was going to make the jump into there, so that's where the 3-point line comes from.
Yep. No, I'm going to go with George squad this week.
Ooh.
We haven't seen at least last week. I can't speak prior to that, but it just doesn't feel like Dak has been that good these last few weeks. And I think it could be, kind of a bounce back game against the Giants. Fournette really doesn't have a good matchup against the Saints, but he's been getting points week in and week out. And, Aaron Jones, I'm I'm hoping that injury isn't too bad and he's able to work through that and get out there. So his wide receivers don't scream greatness to me, but that Jamison Crowder play with really no one else there with some injuries and COVID and all that, it could be a solid play there. And so Gronk, if he continues to do what he's done the last couple of weeks, I think there's enough here on Jordan's side to keep that 3-point spread. So that's where I'm rolling.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this as my opportunity to try to gain some ground. I'm going with Joe. I'm gonna take the old man here, which in turn makes this.
Mike's against the expert's pick. Are you gonna listen to a big dummy, or are you gonna listen to me?
Joe's running backs have come on real strong, and that's Jordan's strong point. That's where he needs to set himself apart, is having Leonard Fournette and Aaron Jones outscore the other team. I think between Monty, Javonte Williams, even Michael Carter in there, or one of those Philadelphia running backs, whoever he decides to go with, I think between all those, he's got some really good options. So I'm happy with that. We talked about Brandon Ayuk being a lot more involved with Debo kind of changing roles in that offense. Still not thrilled about DJ Moore, but that's really the only one
too, I think.
Yeah. So maybe he even gets swapped out there. But overall, I don't think throwing Amon-Ra St. Brown's had 12 targets last week, had 11 or 12 the week before. So that's not a terrible slide in there. So I'm going to go with Joe here. I think he's got enough to get it done. I am not thrilled about some of the guys that Jordan has to rely on this week. You talked about Dak being very low lately, and those receivers are just so inconsistent. I'm gonna give Joe the nod. What about you, Nick?
It's close. I have Joe written down here. I keep going back and forth. I mean, Moore's been consistent double digits. It's just not how he was at the beginning of the year because that quarterback play all year, it's been questionable. With a hamstring too, is he going to pull him just in case? Is he going to be on a snap count and not even get that double digit? I think it's going to be lower than the 100-point total for both of them. I guess Joe always scores 100 points, so maybe it'll be right around there. Like you mentioned, Mike, I think the running back rooms for each side are very similar. I think the point total between both of them are going to be pretty comparable, and it's going to come down to the wide receivers. I think I'm going to take Joe just because I want to gain ground on Jeff, and this one's such a tight one.
Yeah. I don't blame you there, and I know we got one player for you to talk about, Nick.
Nick's bum of the week.
Spare any change, sir? No, off!
All right, so my bum of the week is Ayuk. I think he's projected 11.51. I talked about this game earlier. I think San Francisco is going to get up big. I think they're just going to run all over Atlanta, and it's not really there's going to be no need to throw the ball. So I think he's going to have, 6 points around there.
Yeah, I could totally see that game going like that. I keep thinking Atlanta's terrible, and I don't know how they're 6-7 and in the playoff.
I know.
Right now.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense to me.
They look so bad some weeks. It's just
I wouldn't even say some weeks. I would just say they look bad. Like they just don't look good at playing football. But somehow they picked up 6 wins. I don't even know where. I don't even remember them winning games. They just have wins.
Last week they played the Panthers. They got up 2 touchdowns, 17 points, whatever it was, and then all of a sudden it's they're gonna lose this game. They're gonna find a way to lose it. Yeah, it felt like that, and then somehow snuck it out. But yeah, same thing, Mike. Just I don't understand how they got that many wins.
Yep. All right, moving on to our last matchup. We got the 10 seed Taint Ticklers at 5-9 taking on the number 7 seed Cobra Kai at 6-8. Cobra's a 1-point favorite in this one. Loser gets to move on and face off with the Mud Dogs. Nick, tossing it to you first. What you got in this one?
I'm going with me, baby. I got to get out of the toilet bowl. I've lost too many in a row. My team looks healthy again and no buys, so maybe DJ's getting the start. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I don't know. I don't even know.
Against
That's
Jacksonville.
disgusting still. Yeah, I guess. Keenan coming back in Kansas City. We touched on that game. That should be good. Pittman against New England. I care about the matchups and that. You don't have to, Mike. So it's a little tough. I mean, it's at Indy, which makes it a little bit better. Gibson, can the boy get out of the doghouse? And the only time he's effective is when Washington is up. Otherwise, he's going to have sub 10 points if they get down. So We'll see.
Jeff, what do you got in this one?
I'm also going to roll with the Ticklers. I like that Taysom Hill play. I see them getting up or getting down against the Bucks. And I see a lot of swing pass and dump offs to Kamara. So, that's just get the ball in his hands, and it's going to look good for both him and Kamara. Nick, you finally said your wide receiver room actually looks good with Pittman, Godwin, and Allen in there. So, Higbee and David Johnson are going to be the two kind of spots that are going to be iffy for you. But you look across over at Stank's side of the ball, I don't really love the Sony Michel with Henderson probably back. If Henderson's out, that looks like a really good play. He's had 20 plus carries in 2 straight weeks, but something with James Robinson is just not happening right now. And so him in there, but I guess he is going against the Texans where we just saw Rashad Penny run all over those guys. So Robinson is a better back than he is, but don't like the 2 Arizona wide receivers in there for some reason. I know it's a good matchup against Detroit, but I got faith in the Ticklers this week.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Cobra Kai here. You talked about James Robinson against Houston. Jalen Hurts, if he's back to healthy, I think we forget how consistent and how good he was for so long. Mm-hmm. So I'm real happy if I'm, Kyle playing those guys. The Sony Michel scares me a little bit because that could go bad, but then there's always the chance that Elijah Mitchell comes back healthy, and that would be a smash play there that he could slide on in there. I know you weren't thrilled about the double Arizona receiver. I'm actually pretty bullish on these two specifically. You look at James Conner being hurt, Chase Edmonds coming off of an injury. Maybe they try to utilize Rondale Moore a little bit more in some of those short, quick, get it in his hands. A pseudo running game. AJ Green with Hopkins out. He's gotten great target loads. So I'm pretty high on AJ Green as the receiver to have there now that Hopkins is out. So, he'd be the one I'd play first. I don't really see a problem playing both just because of those running back injuries and kind of how they use Rondale. And then I talked about Dawson Knox. I'm real big into Dawson Knox being a, top 4 tight end right now, behind Kelsey Kittle. Not even going to put Waller in there, but Andrews, because Waller's hasn't done it in a little while. Obviously, when he's back and healthy, but Dawson Knox has been so consistent and he's been up there. So Kai's got enough here. I'm gonna roll with Cobra Kai on this one. Before we move on, we got one last thing to talk about.
Jeff's keep on cooking.
Who wants some man meat?
I do. I want some man meat.
Yeah, I forget how many touches Kamara got last week, but I think it was it might have even been 30 some. And, he just had a solid outing above 20 points, and it's a tough matchup against the Bucks, but there's got to be someone that comes through and gets points to keep up with that high scoring matchup. And I think it's going to be Kamara this week. So he's my Jeff's just keep on cooking player of the week.
Got no quarrels with that. He came back strong off that injury. I think he keeps rolling with it too. So, all right, boys, that's our matchups. Let's do it.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, Mike. Will JT outscore all of Cooley's running backs on his entire team?
Even the guys on the bench?
All of them. Literally all of them.
It won't quite happen.
That was Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, let's do this.
Shut up, baby. I know it. Shut up, baby. I know it. Absolute guarantee.
I'm gonna start us off here. When I was going through specifically that Taint Tickler Cobra Kai matchup, I was kind of back and forth who I was gonna pick. And I ended up picking Kai, and part of it was because it was on theme. And that theme is that I think all of the odd-seeded teams are going to win this week. So that's me as the number 3. That's the lefties as the number 5. Old Man Joe at the 9, and Cobra Kai as the 7. It's all odd seeds this week, baby.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Nick, what you got?
Bad. I want Tony to get some odds on this one. I want to put a little bet wager down on this. My shut up, baby. I know it. Guarantee is that Saints Tampa Bay game is going to hit the over at 46.5. I need it to not have a chance, but to win and get out of the toilet bowl. So, and I think it will happen. I think Tampa Bay is just going to put up so many points, and they're at home. I think they normally have like a 50 point. I think that's their average at home. So, yep, that's what I'm taking. So all the studs in that game are going to go off. So.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
I like it. I need it too. Jeff, close us down.
So the matchup that I'm most intrigued with this week is probably the lefties versus ball is life. So in this matchup, we got 2 top flying quarterbacks here. And my absolute guarantee is Stafford is going to outperform Kyler Murray this week.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Interesting. All right. Well, we're all out of the way. We're in the toilet bowl season. Someone gets to walk away with that trophy that is definitely real and made and exists.
In my house in the basement.
Wow.
Jeff's gotten off a little easy this year because of me being lazy and having to do other things. So there's not really a trophy in Jeff's house, but Jeff can pay to ship it wherever I have to ship it to. So
yeah, that'll work.
We'll pass it
with
over.
All that out of the way. We got the playoffs here. We got the toilet bowl here. A lot of excitement going on. So this is my favorite time of the year. Good luck to everybody, unless you're playing one of us. Have a good one.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as a swollen, pungent-tasting edible root high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, 3 guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.
I'm coming for it.
You love it.